Hey, this is Seagrove, and today I'm here with Ryan Allred, Peter Kica, and Michael Slutsky. And this is the first of a new series I'm starting called Beg to Differ, where I'm having people come on to talk about hot topics, and we're going to be hot topic of the store, and we're going to be, I'm going to be disagreeing if I can reasonably do so, if they're not disagreeing with each other. So the topic for today is regionals money. And I think, Peter, you just did the math on how much a Masters regionals, the Pokemon has to pay for a Masters regionals.
Correct. If the regionals has 201 players or greater, they currently pay out $24,000 total for top 32.
Okay. So this year we have top 32. Last year we have top 64. We had top 64. Do you guys feel like that's a digression or that's okay? Or do you have any idea on the reasoning for why that happened? I'm just going to let you all go at it.
Well, I'll start, I guess. I think it's a huge regression, especially because regional sizes have increased. Like, you had Fort Wayne, and then you had Hartford, and you have Memphis. So they're not getting smaller, and the prize support is. And it really doesn't make sense to me that you would cut 64 money. Like, if I got, 40th at Memphis, I feel like I would, be pretty proud of that, and that's an accomplishment by itself and should be rewarded. So I think it's a regression for sure.
Do you guys have any opinions on why you think that happened? Do you think Pokemon just was overreached with top 64 money and then realized they couldn't afford it, wasn't feasible to continue?
I mean, if I recall correctly, I think originally when the prize support, like the 5K winner started, they originally said that they were paying out 50K per regionals, which I don't know if that was applied towards the Masters division or all three divisions.
Okay.
But we've definitely not hit that.
Yeah, it was total, but the problem was the venues they booked could, in no universe, get enough people inside of them to hit that 50,000.
Okay.
That was assuming you had 500 people in every age division between both games, and I think if they did Pokken too, like, it was impossible.
Okay.
So it was originally based on attendance when they originally...
Well, that was assuming that every age division was 500 was the cap was the minimum for the highest payout. So
Okay.
it was assuming every age division, every game had 500 people, then it would barely hit 50K.
Wow, okay.
So like the advertised total was impossible. Like, it was false advertising.
Mm-hmm. So I've heard people say, like, well, Pokemon may not be able to afford this. But from Pokemon's point of view, what if they go to 64 money, they go back to 32 money, the regionals are booming and are still growing? What incentive do they have to pay the top 64? Do you think they're losing players? Even when, because the numbers could be going up, but they're still getting fewer people than they would have. Do you think that's the case? Or what reason does Pokemon have to do top 64?
I mean, I think you made their point for them. I think that the game is growing and they don't actually collect any money from regionals. That's all the TO. So the TO is profiting off the regionals. So they saw that the game started increasing still. And with proof from this year that the prize support went down and people are still going to more events, I mean, I don't see them ever bringing that money back because people are still going to the events.
Okay. Andrew Wambolt said that he's going to fewer events than he would have because top 64 money isn't there, and he's less likely to get his money back in investing to travel to regionals. Do you think there are people who are doing that?
Yes.
A fair amount, or is it basically just a handful?
Yes, but there are more people who probably started playing the game this year or like started going to more of regionals than there are people who did the Andrew Wamble and stopped going to them because no 64 money.
Okay.
I think to add on to that a little, I think last season was the first season, obviously, with these huge prize payouts. So I think a lot of people were going last season because they're like, man, I can win this money, you know? So like the money was the biggest thing. And now a year later, people realize like how difficult it is to like do well at these. So I think you're seeing less people more interested in like getting their money back, like Wambold, and more people just like, well, I'm there to compete, you know?
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't think there shouldn't be 64 money. I think there should, but I think like the like opinions of the community have shifted to like how they view the regionals.
Right. Go ahead.
The big difference is whether you can fly or drive there. If you have to fly, the cost is like 10 times as high. So like San Jose wasn't huge. I think there's probably like right now there's probably like 200 people who are willing to fly to a tournament if the price is reasonable-ish. If they paid out to top 64, they'd probably get another 100, maybe 200 people. But 100, 200 people in attendance isn't that big of a deal. The big thing is like Memphis, you have 1,000 people willing to drive there, or you have 700 people willing to drive there and 200 something willing to fly.
Slutsky, you led a I don't know what to call it last year. Do you want to describe what that was?
Yeah. So I'm gonna take way more credit for this than is deserved. But basically what happened was they announced the prize money, it was like the big $50,000. Everybody was so excited. And then they revealed the initial prize structure. And it was literally winner gets 5,000, second place gets 2,500, and then everybody else gets 250. So like third place, fourth place, all the way down.
32nd, 250.
Yeah. So basically like getting 32nd was the same as getting bronze. And that wasn't right. So I told everybody to submit support tickets. And then eventually, a ton of people submitted support tickets, and eventually it was changed to what it is now. Well, with 64 money too. In reality, I mean, I'm sure they were planning to do something like a more thorough prize structure. They just rushed it because it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing about anything. So they just like threw something out. But I like to think that I was the cause of the top 64 money, and I'm going on the record here on this video and saying that I did that. So
good.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, because I got top 64 or something. So Peter, I'm Pokemon. I'm assuming all of you guys agree that you want top 64 money back.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so Peter, and I'll let the other two do it as well, but I want you to start, Peter. I want you to sell me on giving more money away, giving top 64 money away.
I mean, it's kind of tough because if Pokemon themselves were the ones who are collecting the entry fee, it would actually be like an incentive for them to do 64 money because people would actually go to more events. They would get more attendance, they could pay out. But I mean, the only argument I could really make for getting 64 money for us would be that they would see an increase of attendance, and even though they wouldn't get those funds through entry fees, I guess more people could play the game because I guess some sort of cash prize support would be more accessible to more people, and they could sell more cards.
Okay, I think that's true, and that doesn't convince me at all to add the money back. Do either of you guys have Allred or Michael? Do you have something?
So the reality with increased attendance, because we look at like the difference between what the PTO does and what Pokemon does. Realistically, the event, these tournaments are obviously subsidized, but I would say more than likely they're subsidized per player. So if the next regionals has 2,000 people, Pokemon loses more money on it because they have to pay out more to the PTO to help out with the fees for the venue, because the venue is going to be more expensive. I can tell you, like, we do a conference at my job.
Does Pokemon do that? Does Pokemon help pay for
It's a secret what they do. Yeah, no, they help with the venue fees. It's after the fact, though.
Is that confirmed? Because I don't think they do that anymore. I mean, not to interrupt you. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all super sketchy, but
sure.
I can tell you exactly, because I haven't heard anything more than rumors.
Sure.
But the reality is those venues are stupid expensive.
Okay.
Like, we do a conference for my job every like year and a half, and what we charge the attendees is like half to third what we actually pay per attendee. And like we want more people to show up, but like if twice as many people show up, we lose twice as much money on the conference.
Right.
So it's great. Like you get what you want, which is the promotion, which is why Pokemon runs these events. It's for the promotion, but like it's expensive.
Uh-huh.
More attendees does not actually put you more in the black. It puts you more in the red.
Right. Michael, do you have anything?
Yeah, one thing I think is that Pokemon is very clearly trying to imitate Magic. I mean, they've been doing that for a long time, but, now more than ever, it's like, regionals are Grand Prix now, and that's the direction they're moving in. And I think top 64 money, or just increased price support in general, does a lot to, like, legitimize the game from, like, like Pokemon is still considered like a children's card game. And for a long time, it seemed like they didn't really care too much that wasn't the reality. But now with this, cash prizes, they're like, hey, we're a real game too, but people see it and they're like, wow, like, I got 40th at this 1,000-person thing. I'm pretty sure, like I don't know, but I feel like if you did that well at a Grand Prix, like just missed day 2, you'd still get rewarded somehow. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. But so I think from like a legitimacy standpoint, it just makes the game seem less like a waste of time for the average competitor.
Okay, and what does that do for Pokemon? What is legitimizing it? What does that do for them financially?
I mean, I think it grows the game, like they've been saying, but from like other TCG players will come to the game, not just like kids and stuff like that. And I think when you're able to start encroaching, I mean, Magic obviously makes a ton of money, both like through itself and through like outside partnerships and stuff. So I think if you can legitimize the game, bigger players will get involved, like companies that will invest money to sponsor whatever, and obviously that can make Pokemon a lot of money.
Yeah. Now let me free you guys up a little bit. So the game is the pricing for the younger players is way more in terms of percentage of players in the tournaments relative to what the Masters get. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, pricing per player is higher.
Yes, for the younger division. So if you're freed up to move money around rather than making Pokemon pay out more, what do you all think about? Do you have any ideas on ways that you could move money around to keep Pokemon from paying more, but also pay out top 64 and Masters in a fair way to juniors and seniors? Or video game?
I hate saying like let's take money from the kids, but maybe we could take some money from the kids.
Right. So how go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I mean, I think like Ryan's blunt about it, but I mean, he's kind of right. Like the kids don't like the juniors and seniors division isn't where the game is growing, and it hasn't been that way in a long time. And like, I don't know, maybe you could, if they had gone that way a long time ago, maybe that's how they could have grown Pokemon. But clearly, like kids or like teenagers who used to play Pokemon are like, oh wow, there's a game, I'm gonna get back into that, or adults or whoever. So like, I don't know why. It seems like we lost money to subsidize the lower divisions, and I don't know why, because like there weren't 1,000 juniors at Memphis,
right?
But
the juniors typically have between 80 to 100, although they can sometimes get into the 100 to 200 bracket. But the 80 to 100, say there's 90 people. First place gets $1,500. Second place gets $750. Third and fourth get $500, and fifth through eighth get $250. So that's it. 9th through 16th doesn't get anything. Only if they break 100 does 9 through 6 get $250. Then it goes up like 500, 750, 1,500, 2,500. But the other place I think we could see money come from is smaller regionals, because they currently have it as it's all the same if it's 201 or more, which you mentioned earlier. So what about if we change it to 500 or more, it gets top 64 money, and then moving money around there? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
So I don't want to take away top 32 money for any regionals. I actually really didn't like that last year. That if the regionals had like 450 people, only top 16 got paid. So you made day 2 and didn't get anything. I actually thought that was kind of garbage.
Yeah, which is happening now. We have
oh yeah,
people making day 2 and not getting paid.
And then there's
Yeah.
buys. Yeah, the buys are a problem too. So top 64
Yeah.
fixes that, which would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like Wambolt suggested something, or he has suggested something like that in the past, where you like stagger the prizes based on the size of the regionals. And I mean, I agree with that to an extent. I think if you make day 2 at a regionals, if there is a day 2, you should get at least $250, obviously. But Vancouver, did that pay out the same, like $5,000? Did Pablo win like $5,000
Yeah.
for winning that one?
Because it's 201 and up. That's
Vancouver was up
201
300.
players is the 201 players is the highest floor.
Okay.
So 201 and 1,000 is the same number of masters for regionals.
So like, I mean, you know, I obviously love Pablo. He got $5,000 for winning Vancouver, and then he got, you know, $1,000 for getting third at Memphis. And it's like, well, like, where's the, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what can we do with that?
I think what they can start doing is, like you said, if it's 500 or more, or maybe even 800 or more, because if you see their actual CP structure, they added a new bracket for top 256. So if the regional has 800 or more, I think all the stuff should be bumped up. Like top 32 should probably get a little bit more, and they should add top 64 money. It also feels kind of weird that even last year when we were getting top 64 money, the money was, you know, identical to top 32. So
Right.
it was like not really a difference. So maybe if it's 800 or more, top 32 and every other thing above that gets plus like, you know, 10% or something. And then we add the 64 250.
What if 64 got 100?
Yeah, I'd be happy with $100 for top 64. The problem is
so, too.
that whole like e-wallet system. I'm guessing it's not just a percentage they pay like per user. They have to pay out, and they have to get their AP guy to do all the paperwork, and that's really why everything takes so long. Just getting the AP guy to do it.
Okay.
So if you add another 32 people, you have to pay out. Yeah, you pay out what, $3,200,
Right.
but you lose a lot doing all the payout. So
Right.
it's not a great return on what you're paying out.
Okay. What
That
about?
makes sense.
Yeah. What about,
Okay.
So what about if we took something like Vancouver, where you have less than 500, and you bump those down a bit, and in the top especially, like 5,000 could be 3,000, when you have like 200 to 500 masters, and then second place could get like 1,500, third and fourth could get 1,000 or something like that, and just bump that down, and then we could add in, like if you're over 800, then you can add in $100 for everyone 64 through 32, except for the top like 32 through 35 that make day 2 will get the 250. What are your thoughts on that?
Wait, so you're saying that you wanted to take money from smaller regionals and move them to larger regionals?
Yes.
So like two completely separate events. Like,
Yes.
okay.
If I'm asking, what do you guys think about that?
I think Pokemon will never do it. It discourages people from going to smaller regionals and discourages those from growing. And that's what this whole structure this year was saying, was that they don't want to do that. I mean, that's my interpretation of it. But it meant like the West Coast regionals, nobody went to them. Nobody went to the European regionals. Like it just.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I
that's-
think nobody went to the West Coast ones because it was on Thanksgiving weekend, and then Vancouver had a cap of like 5 people. So, you know, like people didn't go. But I mean, it's a legitimate point. I think they should do that. I think they should set like an allocated amount to give. I don't know, what is it? What do we say it was? 24,000.
Yeah.
They should start with 24,000, and then based on the metrics of how many people actually register, then they can stagger that and then like roll that over to like the next regionals, kind of like a rolling bank of money or whatever. And then I don't really know. I mean, like
Yeah.
it does discourage growth in a sense, but at the same time, like, it doesn't really seem like they care too much about growth anyway, because they're really doing nothing. Like, they're completely like de-investing themselves and letting the TOs do everything. So I don't really know what their like MO is. I don't know how Pokemon is still a game, to be honest with you.
To add on to what Slutsky's saying about them not being involved, they also pulled their whole streaming cast for the rest of the season for all regionals. So
Really?
Pokemon is not streaming any regionals anymore this year.
Just
And they're
internationals, or they not
only
does it-
internationals.
Yeah, can we take that money then? That was so expensive for no reason.
They're going to be doing internationals only.
What was so expensive?
The streaming, like the production quality is ridiculous. They don't need all that. Take the stream money, give that to Top 64. Problem solved.
Problem solved. All right, that's
Get
awesome.
rid of the prize cam and give it to Top 64.
Sell those stupid tables and chairs that look really good. I don't know what they paid for them. They look cool.
Yeah, they did.
That's funny. Do you guys have any other thoughts on money movement or anything like that?
Yes, I think at the very minimum, Dave Schwimmer should open his wallet and give those people in day 2 that are like less than top 32 money, because that's just actual horse shit.
Yeah.
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 Like you make day
100%.
2 play 5 rounds and then don't even get the 250 or the box. Like they should actually get the CP, the booster box, and Dave Schwimmer's credit card.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like they should just win more games, you know? Like, their fault.
I'd be kind of okay with that if they didn't have buys. Because it's been an odd number both times, too.
Yeah.
It's like the last round. Oh, you get the buy, you get paid. You didn't get the buy. Oh, that sucks. Should have got the buy.
Sam Chen was actually
Yeah.
talking about that, and he was saying that they should go, like, you know, top 37 plus 1. So, like, you always bring in an even number of people so that there isn't a buy. I would agree with that. Or do something.
I don't know if they can advertise that. For the same reason they can't advertise by your record, I don't know that they can advertise that way with cash pricing.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know. It's a legality thing. Like Magic, because Magic will actually communicate to their players. They said they couldn't do it based off of your record, so you could make day 2 and not get paid, and they had to just say like top X players get paid X amount.
Huh.
And it might not be a U.S. thing. It might be some states. It might be some countries. But in some regions where they operate tournaments, it's a legal restriction.
Interesting.
Okay. I remember the question. It sort of harkens back to something you were saying earlier, Michael. And that's, you're talking about players, the game growing anyways, despite this. So there was sort of talks about doing another ticket storm or whatever you want to call it to get Top 64 money back again. And especially at the beginning of the season, people just didn't seem interested. What do you guys think about that? And like, do you have ideas on why you think that is, or if that indicates that we really shouldn't have the Top 64 money?
I think people are just lazy.
Do what?
Yeah, he did.
People are just lazy. They don't want to do it.
I was pushing for that so hard.
Yeah, he didn't make a pinned post and tell everyone to do it. That was what happened.
Yeah,
That
my
was it.
bad.
They would have done it.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think the thing is, part of it is that, like, you know, we go through this whole thing last year, succeed, and then, you know, it's like they just take it away again, and, like, everybody's like, well, you know, we already went through that whole thing, well, you know, I don't want to do that again. It obviously didn't work. So I think it's, like, not necessarily a lazy thing, but it's just like a fatigue, like, we already did that. Now we just got to do it again. I don't really care. I'll just make day 2. Unless you make 33rd or 34th, then it doesn't matter anyway.
Quite a few people seem to be changing their minds on that. Do you think that if we did a poll now, or if it were suggested now, if it would gain traction?
I think so.
it would,
Yeah. I mean, people are seeing now. You have Fort Wayne, you have Hartford, you have Memphis. I mean, the sizes of these tournaments is insane. And I think people are like, I mean, there's a legitimate argument that like I was saying earlier, like 40th at Memphis is not horrible at all. That's like a great placement. That tournament was brutal, you know, and like you should be rewarded for it somehow. So I think people would be, now that they're seeing the size of these tournaments, they would be more interested. Yeah.
Okay, and what about Pokemon? If Pokemon responds, they are rewarded by CP. What would you say to that? Anybody?
I mean, that's why we still have the growth, to be honest, because they made Worlds so attainable.
Mm-hmm.
They could pay you like crackers, and people would still show up if they can go to Worlds.
Yeah, and that's a topic for next time.
But like you're implying there's a discussion here. That's not how things work with Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's just a shout into the void.
It seems that way.
I think I remember
sometimes.
them saying that they were gonna like try and be more active, like with blog posts or something like that, and like clearly that's not. I don't know what they do in the office every day, but it obviously does not involve running like a global trading card game, because this is like ridiculous. I don't know.
All right. Any last thoughts or any last topics you guys want to hit on before we close?
The one thing with the money, like if we tried to get like a ticket storm going this year, they definitely can't take away money from age divisions or whatever for this year,
Right.
because they've already advertised prizes for all these tournaments that people have registered for. Like I'm guessing they'd hit some legal issues there, but like for next year they could take away money.
That might be a thing to go for.
The game has grown, and the 64 money is actually only like 32 people of the event, and these events have grown more than 32 people, and I've noticed that the records for you to get 64 have also been like increased. So like you used to be able to go 621, some tournaments even like 522 I remember, or like 63 and get 64, but that's not happening this year. So you have to get like 621 or something, or 612 to get 64 most of the time, and that's just not very many people. So
For sure. I've been in that boat a couple times. So, all right. Any last thoughts?
Money, please.
Same. All right. Allred, why don't you start with any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, shout out to Pro Play Games and Ultra Pro for sponsoring me. Help me get paid. But not shout out to Pokemon for not always helping me get paid.
Alas. Peter.
Shout out to Tapu Bulu. Last night I broke the deck. I'm going to be playing it at the next Standard Regionals.
I'm excited. Send me that. All right.
Excited to play against it.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the Dark Patch. You should write an article. So yeah, that's all.
All right. Tell people about the Dark Patch real quick.
Oh yeah, nice. This is a good soapbox. Dark Patch is a website where anybody can submit an article, literally anybody. And you just write the article and then you submit it, and then the best players in the game look at it and they work with you on your article, and then it gets posted to the front page of a website. So you too can be a famous article writer at thedarkpatch.com. Check it out.
Great. And for myself, check out my articles on Flipside Gaming, and yeah, buy stuff from them. Use the discount code Seagrove in all caps, and you'll get 10% off. Thank you for watching.